team, and now we're looking at Stanton, Ozuna, Real Muto, and Yelich. Yelich, a guy that goes on to win the NL MVP. These are all the guys that he gutted this team without, I think, the necessity to do. So I was wondering what you guys thought about what the job that he's doing out there. That you keep saying, follow the plan. But I'm thinking to myself, this might be just a cash grab for that franchise right now.
I think he's sinking the ship, no point intended there with the Jose Hernandez.
Man.
Wait, didn't that man die?
Yeah, he did. But
it was one fateful night in Miami.
Wow.
R.I.P.
Let me be the mature one here. Nah, go ahead.
You're gonna have to be. You're gonna have to be.
Well, Derek Jeter's throwing the team along with that. He hasn't done anything for them except for give away their best players and get nothing in return. Getting rid of Yelich and look what he becomes. He doesn't really. I don't think he really even has a plan for that right now. There's no plan that I can see. He's not loading up on talent or any crazy draft picks or whatever. I really don't even see what that guy's doing.
I don't know. Derek Jeter. I think he just moved to Miami, started doing a bunch of coke, and just said, "Fuck it." He's living his best life right now, man.
That's just it. He's just doing his thing.
Yeah, they just caught him on a bender. He's on a bender, and he made these trades. So,
hey, baby.
Shout out to, and I think he helped the Yankees out with that. With the what's his name, Stanton.
Oh yeah, that was all.
That was all love for the Yankees.
That was love for the Yankees. There's no.
Let me
way
throw one at
gets
y'all.
Rid of Stanton in that contract. For nothing. They didn't get anything in return.
Right.
They got Starlin Castro.
They didn't get anything in return. I'll repeat that again. They didn't get anything. Starlin Castro, he's good on most teams, but he is not even in the same conversation as Stanton. Stanton is a whole nother level. I don't understand that trade at all.
And then last thing, I'm going to say one last thing for this division. For the Phillies, the Bryce Harper signing. What is the impact with that signing? Not only just on the field and for the franchise, but for the franchise, overall for the city. What do you think it does? Does it bring in more high profile free agents to go sign with Philly and go play with them? What's your thoughts on that?
I think so. The last big guys they were able to really bring in was, they kept them around, really. It was Howard and Utley, like I was talking about before. But really, bringing a guy in like Harper at that age, that's just everyone's going to want to play with him. You want to play with the best. You want to be on the best team. That's slowly becoming a really good team, especially if they can get a few more pitchers. And their young talent, that's a pretty deadly mix right there.
One of the things that I like about the signing for them in particular is the fact that they have a cast there, a supporting cast that I've already talked about that was in a position to win now. When you sign some of these big guys, right, whether we're talking Machado, Harper, as Matt mentioned earlier, Trout in a couple years, going to have guys like Francisco Lindor coming out, free agency in a few years. When you go to make a big splash, the back end of these contracts take these guys deep into their 30s, right? So you have to sign a guy who you think is going to help you win now. Bryce, what I love about what you said is, what does it do for the city, really? I think that's a bigger deal than what he actually brings on the field. Bryce Harper, more than any other player in baseball, is marketable. He puts butts in the seats. He's got that hair, he's got that beard, he's got the look that everybody wants to market a guy,
He's a cool-looking white dude.
Yeah, that's right. He's a cool-looking white dude, that's for sure. But he's a guy that's marketable, and he's fiery. When you watch him play, he plays with a lot of passion. But when you look at, the actual on-field product that you're getting, that's the thing that I think everybody's kind of missed in this whole scenario where they're talking about Bryce Harper. He was a former MVP when he was 22 years old. That's going on 4 or 5 years ago now. He is really, if you look at his stats, which I did the other day in preparation for this, he's an up-and-down guy. He really is. And I think what the Phillies are banking on here is that MVP caliber season, One thing that a lot of people don't know is that he's had over 100 RBI once in his career, and that was last year. Granted, they didn't always score the most runs in Washington, but I don't know. I don't know what you're getting with on field from him. If it's worth $330 million, if that's me, if I'm an owner with $330 million, I'm going out and I'm signing a bunch of guys that are going to contribute to the team, not one guy that's an up and down type of player.
Yeah, I was talking to my man Dave. He's one of the guys I go to for baseball advice and information, and he was saying that like the Phillies pretty much made this signing in hopes that Bryce Harper will be entering into his prime, like not yet, like going into his prime, like when he gets 28, 29, 30 years old. And then like he said that he's very inconsistent. He's a very inconsistent player, so. Hopefully it pays off for the Phillies. Like I'm looking at his numbers right now. He had that one crazy year in 2015. And then after that, it was just 24, 29, 34 home runs. And then batting averages of 243, 319, and 249. And then, like you said, one time he only hit 100 RBIs. Although in 2015 he hit 99. So
yeah.
Does it show how many games he played in each of those seasons?
Yeah. He played 159 last year, 111 the year before, 147, 140, 153, 100, 118, 139 for his career.
Okay.
Yeah, so
don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it seem like I'm talking trash about the guy, because he's a great player. He makes any team immediately better. But again, with the money that was thrown at him, it comes with that expectation, right? I think that's the big deal here, because he's not just signing like any other guy. He's signing for $330 million. That is a make or break deal for the franchise. And if it's my money, again, even if Machado turns out to be the lesser player, I'd rather have a guy like that who I know what I'm getting. It's proven year in, year out. I know what I'm getting, not this roller coaster that Bryce Harper can be.
Yeah, I would take the risk on a Bryce Harper. I was actually expecting him to go for a 13-year, close to $400 million. I think Philly got a little discount on him. I think he's worth more than an Arenado. I don't know if he's really worth more than Machado, really. But I think with Harper, you're going to get a guy, especially if you can put someone else behind him, you're going to get an MVP type player. I mean, when he was with the Nationals, he was hitting in front of Zimmerman. And that guy hasn't had a good season since like 2008. So, I mean, when you're throwing to Harper and you got Zimmerman behind him, you can throw curveballs every pitch. If you want to, you can walk him. And when Harper was taking the walks, that's when he was doing his best. So, I mean, if he can be a little bit more patient, take those walks, that's when he's going to have that MVP season, especially if maybe Herrera can hit behind him and do some damage. He'll look like he might have an MVP season in the next few years.
I did want to mention, too, that, Bryce, when you were talking about batting average, one of the things that was made famous by Matt's team, the A's, was the fact that on-base percentage is becoming a more and more important part of looking at how you're evaluating a player. And with Harper, his batting average has always been a little bit lower. But if you look at his on-base, like Matt was talking about, the walks that he takes are tremendous. I think he had something like 130 or 140 last year.
Because they're throwing up curveballs.
He gets on base a lot. And what Matt was talking about, a little protection in the lineup could go a long way for him in actually making pitchers throw to him. So we'll see what happens, and I'm excited to watch. It's a cool story for baseball. We've been following the story, I feel like, for months, and it's cool to see him land somewhere, and we'll see what he does.
And a side note, they're saying that this signing could potentially lead them to getting Mike Trout, getting him back the hometown kid. So we shall see in the next couple of years. Hopefully not. Hopefully he stays with the Angels, but, we'll see. All right, let's move on. NL Central. Last year winner was the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Cubs was the wild card team. Let's see here. First of all, what are our predictions on who do you think is going to be the biggest movers in the NL Central? Who's going to improve the most, do you think?
Well, I said it before. I think I don't know how much of an improvement it's really going to be because they were already so close to playoffs, but I think the Cardinals are going to take a jump. I think Cincinnati, they made a few moves, but they're going to stay down there. Pittsburgh, let's see how Jung Ho Kong, or however you say his name, how he produces, because a few years ago he was on pace for like a 30 home run season. If they can get that out of a second baseman, you never know what Pittsburgh's going to do, because with Starling Marte and everything they got, they're always a contender. But I think St. Louis makes the biggest jump up and Milwaukee makes the biggest jump down.
And for the first time in the history of life, I think Matt and I are in total agreement here. I know we had a bit of a spoiler alert when we were first getting started about our prediction for St. Louis, but I see that too. St. Louis for me is a team that for a long time, if we recall, we're like the Patriots, just an understated team without a lot of star power that just kept making their way to the playoffs and kept winning baseball games. And I think that a lot of their signings still kind of reflect on that. You're looking at Paul Goldschmidt is the big signing there. I think that that's a guy that is one of the most underrated players in baseball. If this was a guy that wasn't toiling away in anonymity out there in Arizona, if he played in a big market, this is an absolute top of the league stud that they picked up, and not a lot of people talking about that. But, again, just a great lineup. I love a Harrison Bader. Marcell Ozuna, as I already talked about, leaving the Marlins, going to the Cardinals. Matt Carpenter, again, if we're talking about guys that are understated and underrated, he's certainly one of them. He can produce for them at third base. And then they've got a very solid pitching staff. Mikolas and Martinez, I think, are two really great pitchers at the top of that rotation. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Jordan Hicks might be their closer. And I think that guy throws, like 114 miles per hour, I think? He throws pretty hard out there.
103, 104, but yeah.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's about it.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, I think, honestly, that Goldschmidt as a first baseman, that guy is very underrated, even though he's one of the best players in the league. That guy steals about 20 bases a year. And for a first baseman, that's unheard of. For a guy putting it all on the line, you don't see first baseman ever trying to steal base unless it's like Anthony Rizzo trying to do a delayed steal when no one's holding them on. But, yeah, I mean, that guy can actually run. He can hit. He can play the field. If they wanted to move him to third base, they could. That guy is versatile as all ever.
Yeah, very true. And one other thing, it breaks my heart again, but Andrew Miller, another huge signing that's gone a little bit under the radar. So now you've got Hicks and Miller out there in the pen, and I think that's a nasty little 1-2 punch out there. And I think that St. Louis overtakes Milwaukee and Chicago and wins this division.
Okay, so yeah, that's where I was going next. So division winners, we think St. Louis takes this division, Ed, and then Matt, you agree?
I got St. Louis as well, yeah.
All right.
I think if I can say though, I think
please.
This might be the most competitive division in baseball, because I think if the Cubs were to win the division, it wouldn't shock me, and if Milwaukee somehow hung on to the magic that they had last year, that wouldn't shock me that much either, because the Cubs are a very, very good team. I know I mentioned some great infields earlier, but I mean we're looking at Bryant, Baez, Rizzo, and Zobrist probably playing some second base for him. That's a scary infield, and you've got a great defensive player in Jason Hayward. Never quite lived up offensively to the hype that he was supposed to have behind him, but I think the Cubs are a great team too. Lester, Hamels, Darvish, great veteran pitching there. I just really think that the moves that St. Louis made give them enough to push them over the top.
All right, I like it. All right, and then in the last but not least, of course, is the NL West. And taking a look at it here, so obviously there's a couple of huge moves that was made in this division. Manny Machado decided, shocking everybody, and signing with the San Diego Padres, 10 years, $300 million. Real quick, I want to start with that. Did y'all see that coming? What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely did not see that coming. I thought, if anything, he'd stay with the Doyers. But, San Diego, I feel honestly they could be a team to A team to beat if Will Myers stays healthy and he has a good season.
Who was the not to cut you off, Matt, but who was the other guy that they signed last year? Because I know the media was like hyping it up crazy. They did. Oh yeah, they signed
Hosmer.